Today's Philadelphia Eagles now is sponsored by 8 Sleep. Let me ask you this. Do you want to improve your sleep? Do you want to have a comfortable and great night of sleep? You can do it with 8 Sleep. Their pod cover is basically a temperature-controlled mattress pad that you put over your mattress pad. And if you use our link down below, 8sleep.com/chatsports, you get $200 off and free shipping. We'll tell you more about them coming up here in just a bit. On the show for today, we're going to do a segment that a lot of people have been asking me to do in the comment section, and that's the value of you commenting on our videos. Producer Chip and I, we go back to look at what you say, and a lot of people have been asking us to do an Eagles draft target visit tracker. Some of the players that they have visited with are set to have visits with as part of their top 30 allotted pre-draft visits. And the Eagles do have a history with drafting a lot of the players who they meet with in the pre-draft process. It's an indication that they have a high level of interest in that player. And it's not just first-round picks. Some of the players that they've met with or are going to meet with prior to the NFL draft at the end of April are wide-ranging. First-round picks, second-round picks, some mid to late-round picks as well. The Eagles just want to gauge what that player is about and if they fit into their culture in Philadelphia, if they can handle the pressure cooker of playing in the city of brotherly love. This is interesting here. The Eagles took 7 players in the 2023 NFL draft, and 4 of their first 5 picks were 30 visits. Keep in mind, this list that we're about to show you is fluid. It is going to change. Some of the reported visits have been mysteriously canceled, and there's a little bit of a conspiracy theory about that other teams have started to realize that the Eagles take these visits seriously. And it's an indication that they might draft the players, which then in turn forces other teams to hop in front of Philadelphia to take that player. So these meetings, some of them have been canceled at the last moment. Maybe Philadelphia not making some of those visits all too public because they don't want to show their cards to other teams across the NFL. The rules for this are interesting. All teams across the NFL, there are 32 of them, are allowed visits with 30 prospects prior to the draft. Of course, you could take players who you do not meet with, but maybe some of those players you have more of an intel into. So let's run through this list. And let's start off with this set of 5 players, and we'll give you some scouting information on all of them. Troy Fautanu, offensive lineman out of Washington. He could play tackle. He can play along the interior of the offensive line. Roger Rosengarten, another offensive tackle for Washington. Fautanu played left tackle. Rosengarten played right tackle for the Huskies last year. Jarrian Jones, defensive back out of Florida State. Caelen Carson, defensive back out of Wake Forest. And Andru Phillips, a defensive back out of Kentucky. Fautanu is a player who the Eagles have said to really, really like. They visited with him now twice in the pre-draft process. He has really good bend, balance, and feet. A very powerful punch. He's a graceful mover for how big he is. He's a vicious competitor with the streak of nastiness. He started every game over the last 2 years for Washington. Team leader, a lot of versatility. Can play offensive tackle, but shorter arms, so he might have to play guard at the next level to truly maximize his skill set. His weaknesses, 3 holds and 2 false starts. He can get a little bit handsy because his arms are a little bit shorter. He is a little bit older for an incoming rookie. He's going to turn 24 this season. The shorter arms, again, could make him play guard at the next level. And because he has those shorter arms, in addition to him getting a little bit handsy, leading to some of those penalties, he can struggle with some of those inside moves when he plays offensive tackle. That's why a lot of draft evaluators think that he's going to play guard at the next level. Roger Rosengarten. He is a Mel Kiper favorite. In one of his mock drafts, he had Rosengarten going to the Philadelphia Eagles. A little bit raw and inexperienced, but the ability is certainly there. Mel Kiper said if he went back to Washington for 2024, he thinks that he could develop into a top 10 pick, but he's getting that money right now, and he could go in the first round when all is said and done. Jarrian Jones, the cornerback out of Florida State, a very good athletic tester, and he was very low on a lot of people's draft boards, but he's climbing up draft boards a little bit. And it's probably why Philadelphia wants to check in on the player here, because he earned a 9.87 score on the relative athletic score. It's the athletic testing numbers from MathBomb. He's 5'11", can play inside, outside. Maybe he figures to be more of a slot guy with that lack of height. Excellent vertical leap, good broad jump. He ran a sub 4.4 40-yard dash. Caelen Carson, another player who can play on the inside and the outside. And you think back to that list that we showed you with these visits here on Eagles Now. They've met with a lot of offensive linemen and cornerbacks. Two pressing needs for this Eagles team. The issue with Caelen Carson, he has missed 11 games over the last 3 years. And then you take a look at Phillips out of Kentucky. Some people have a first-round grade on him. Others have a second-round grade. 48 tackles, 1.5 TFLs this past year, 5 pass breakups, no interceptions, a very solid athlete for Kentucky in 2023. Next list of 5 players here. Marshawn Kneeland, edge rusher out of Western Michigan. Chop Robinson, another edge out of Penn State. Trevin Wallace, linebacker out of Kentucky. Laiatu Latu, edge rusher out of UCLA. And then Ainias Smith, the wide receiver out of Texas A&M. Marshawn Kneeland, when you watch him, the NFL size jumps right away. 6'3", 267 pounds. And this is a player who hasn't fully tapped into his potential yet, but he's starting to find his stride as a football player. And if Philadelphia is able to develop him, he has star potential. Could go first round, he could go second round, depending on a team's evaluation of him. You look at the sack production year by year, 2 sacks, 4.5, 1.5 sacks, 4.5. I think he's better as a second round pick, but the pressure numbers very solid the last 3 years, 37 pressures, 25 and 23. Chop Robinson, one of my favorite players in this entire draft class. With the size that he has at 250 plus pounds, but his ability to get started with that elite blink of an eye first step allows him to win a lot of one-on-one matchups. His testing numbers pre-draft at the combine were stupid. 9.68 relative athletic score. Height, 6'2", 254. Great vertical, great broad. And if you're running a 4.48 at 250 pounds, when you have bend, when you have twitch, when you can set the edge, when you're pretty good against the run, you've got a spot in the league. And with the Eagles trading away Hassan Reddick, do they look to go edge rusher with their first-round selection? Scouting Wallace, 4'5", 140 at 237 pounds. So he's a smooth body mover. He does have the coverage range and speed to cover tight ends. Sometimes he can over-pursue. He needs good coaching to maximize. If the Eagles do take him day 2, day 3, Vic Fangio has a background of developing linebackers. Latu. He medically retired from football a couple of years ago. Then he comes back and becomes a true sack artist for UCLA. 12.5 sacks in 2022, 12.5 TFLs in 2022, 21.5 TFLs in 2023, but 23.5 sacks over the last 2 years. 10.5 in 2022, and then this past year with 13. And he's combined for 65 pressures 2 years ago and 62 pressures this past year. It all comes down to the medicals for him. If he passes with flying colors, he could be one of those players who a team takes inside the top 20. The pro comp here, Elijah Moore, 5'9", 4.5, 40-yard dash, a lot of return ability, has wiggle, and the player here, absolutely competitive. This is Ainias Smith, the wide receiver out of Texas A&M. That's the Elijah Moore comp. 5'9", 4'5", 40 guy. So not too quick at that size, but he's shifty, he's compact, he can make people miss in short areas. So ideally, when you have a wide receiver who's that short, you'd want Smith to run a little bit quicker. But when you have that wiggle and you're competitive, you have that return ability, you could be a day 3 guy. If you're pumped up for the NFL draft, please make sure you hit that thumbs up icon and you like the video, but also type "Go Birds" down in the comment section right now. Can't wait for it, and we'll be live for every single pick, every single round right here on Philadelphia Eagles Now. Don't miss our coverage. As I mentioned off the rip, today's Eagles Now is sponsored by 8 Sleep. Get $200 off and free shipping on the new Pod 3 cover. It's sleep to power a whole new you. It'll improve your sleep by automatically adjusting your bed's temperature based on your individual needs. The cover can be added to any bed, like a fitted sheet, and it allows you and your partner to cool or warm your side of the bed as low as 55 degrees and up to 110 degrees. In addition to keeping you at the perfect temperature all night, the pod also tracks your sleep and health metrics. On average, pod users see their sleep quality improve by 32% after just 1 month on the pod. I'm telling you right now, for everybody watching, everybody listening, there's no better way to improve your day-to-day life better than sleep, and the easiest way to do that, 8 Sleep's Pod 3. Start the new year right. Invest in the rest that you deserve with the 8 Sleep Pod. Go to 8sleep.com/chatsports. $200 off and free shipping. It's a device that you put right next to your mattress, and then you can power everything right from your phone. It's the intelligent sleep system that you've been looking for. Me using it every single night. It's improved my sleep dramatically. $200 off using our link. Let's continue to move forward with our Eagles 30 visits tracker. Travis Glover, offensive tackle out of Georgia State. Brenden Rice, the son of Jerry Rice, USC wide receiver and a former Colorado transfer. Edgerrin Cooper, a lot of fans really like him, the linebacker out of Texas A&M. Zak Zinter, interior offensive lineman out of Michigan, coming off that broken leg. And then Cooper DeJean, another fan favorite, the defensive back out of Iowa. Travis Glover, a 6th or 7th round grade from me. Definitely gives you depth along the offensive line, which is what Philadelphia needs. He is not explosive as an athlete, but man, at that size, he is very powerful. He could play guard or offensive tackle. So versatility on top of the depth. As for Brenden Rice, a very, very good 2023 season where he had 45 catches, catching the rock from Caleb Williams, 791 yards, 17 and a half yards per catch. So a big play threat for USC this past year. He had 12 touchdowns and 2 drops on those 45 catches. Last 4 years, started his career at Colorado. He transfers to USC, and that's really where he was maximized in Lincoln Riley's offense. Those 12 touchdowns, putting him on a lot of draft boards to maybe be a sneaky 2nd-round pick. I more so think he's going to go in the 3rd. Edgerrin Cooper, an athletic, twitchy, fast linebacker who's instinctual and plays with a lot of swagger and a lot of confidence. A relative athletic score of 9.1. 40-yard dash, pretty solid at that size of 6'2", 238. A 4.51 40-yard dash. Been a sure-handed tackler throughout his Texas A&M career in 2023. Able to give the Aggies 84 tackles, 17 TFLs. He more than doubled up on that number from the previous season. And the Aggies started to use him as more of a blitzing linebacker. Imagine what Vic Fangio would be able to do. He had a half sack in his collegiate career before he had 8 in 2023. So that's a growing part of his game. Zak Zinter, one of the favorites for me because if he didn't break his leg against Ohio State Thanksgiving weekend, he could have been a 2nd-round pick. Now he might fall to the 3rd or 4th round. I think he's a high-level starter in the NFL for the next 7 to 10 years. Jim Harbaugh does a great job of finding and developing offensive line talent. Zinter, another byproduct of that. Overall Pro Football Focus grade this past year of 76.6. Gave up 0 sacks, 0 hits, only 5 hurries on J.J. McCarthy. Also a smart player who's tough as nails. 0 penalties. Cooper DeJean, we've talked about him a lot here on the show. Just an overall freak athlete. Has a variety of techniques that he has in his bag at the cornerback spot. he anticipates very, very well. He's credited that with playing quarterback at the high school level. So just has an innate understanding of what's going to transpire at defensive back because he played signal caller at the quarterback position in high school. Big-time player who makes big-time plays too. Just fun with the football in his hands. He returned 3 of his 7 career interceptions for touchdowns. Has the versatility of Trent McDuffie. That's a good player comp there. And special teams value as a returner right from the jump. And with this new kickoff rule, can you use him there as a dynamic player who's a freak athlete? I saw Peter Schrager tweet out his basketball highlights too. Dude had some bounce. He was yamming on cats. Topper. Coming off a fractured fibula, that's a part of the weaknesses here, but he has been fully medically cleared. Gives up initial separation from time to time. Some questions. Is he a cornerback? Is he a safety? Sometimes he can get handsy in coverage, which can lead to penalties. Last of these 5 here. Tyler Guyton, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma. Khristian Boyd out of Northern Iowa, an interior defensive lineman. Cooper Beebe, an interior offensive lineman. Brenden Coleman, offensive lineman out of TCU. And then Khristian Mahogany Wood. I like woodworking. That's a fun fact about me. Mahogany wood. Very nice. Khristian Mahogany out of Boston College. Guyton, another player who I really like. Great prototypical size for an offensive tackle who you think can make it to a couple of Pro Bowls, right? 6'7", 322, very athletic. I saw him at the Combine. He is slender, so he doesn't have a lot of bad weight, meaning just that flubby weight. So he's in really good shape. Light and balanced in pass protection. Struggles a little bit as a run blocker. Inexperienced player. 15 career starts, and you can tell because he looks and plays like he's a little bit raw and inexperienced. Seems to be comfortable on that right side. Maybe in the future he goes to left tackle, but you just locked up Jordan Mailata there. If he stays motivated and if he stays healthy, the upside is major. Cooper Beebe is such a Philadelphia Eagles offensive lineman. Played offensive tackle and guard with Kansas State. Guard maximizes his skill set because of those shorter arms. Sometimes when you have shorter arms as an offensive tackle, you hold, but you can get beat by the longer, lengthier edge rushers. He has a thick trunk, meaning a thick lower half, so he's tough to move, and that's why I think he's better along the interior, because he's going to be going up against some really big players. 4-year starter at Kansas State. In order to be a 4-year starter at a high-level program like that, you have to be smart, you have to be durable. If you enjoyed today's show, we wanted to inform you as much as possible. It's a little bit choppy when you have to talk about all of these players and inform everybody, but hopefully you were informed, and it's one of the big goals here on Eagles. Now, if you enjoyed it, give us a real one.